Well, good.
Yeah, so I kind of thinking of your the analogy of your thing, of you love to surf, and sometimes it takes a storm, right, to get you the good waves. And then you're out there all just riding high, no fear and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a great analogy of, the whole of life, that we get these storms, and you can either be afraid and go hide, or you can just go ride the waves.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds great. Well,
So,
welcome to Christ Truth Reveal.
yeah,
This
thank you.
is Celeste, one of the hosts. Co-host on our chat line is Giraffe Heart. Welcome. And the lion is also our main host who is here with us today on the topic of the spiritual meaning of life. So we're open for call-ins, and we have a subtopic of intention and intent. Kingdoms within, and there's nothing without.
Double meaning.
Do
And
tell.
um, just I've been seeing all this attention again, and everything is intensified, these days especially. But the more things change, the more they stay the same. Just
Mm-hmm.
think back in our entire lifetimes, it's always been something, right? The end of the world's coming.
Every generation gets to
Yeah,
argue that it's there.
yeah.
The second coming is now.
Second coming, or just the end of the world. There's going to be nuclear, thermal, or ice age, or global warming. Whatever, just everything.
World War III gets thrown
Yeah,
around a lot right now.
yeah. And then right now there's rumors of wars, and I hear that a lot of the video that they're using on even mainstream media are from years ago. It's so we don't know what's really going on. I'm not over there. There quite possibly is a war, but whatever. That's why I put attention and intent. Um,
Mm.
where's the attention? Where's your attention? Is your attention on these things of the world? If it is, then that's where you exist. You exist in the world.
Gotcha.
And then also I see like spiritual teachers, channelers, religious people pretty much talking, using it in different forms, and even some of them saying things like, you're meant to be here, but you're wrong in what you're thinking. It's just really funny to hear these things, like contradiction and stuff. And then I hear in religion
Funny
that
because
they're,
it's judgment.
well, no, it's just funny because it's a contradiction. They're
Mm-hmm.
saying one thing and then contradicting in the next sentence with, the world is messed up, the world is lost, it needs to be saved. But yet
Gotcha.
saying everything, you're supposed to be here, you're here for a reason. But it's everybody's here for a reason.
Mm.
And so the answer of the kingdoms within, and of course here we are, we're talking about this stuff, but it's not to save anything, or it's just to try to explain that the kingdom is within. These things that exist outside of us are to bring us within to the kingdom. And then when you exist in the kingdom, you realize that there's really nothing without the kingdom. There is no world, and the world is just imagination, basically.
Mm.
Life is the soul.
Yep. Energy,
Yep, only the soul.
vibration, feels very real, right? We've curated our avatars to be these things. We
Yeah, it's
we
inside.
feel are representative of who we would like to be seen as, but at the same time, right? As best laid plans get changed, and you know,
And all of that
we're,
comes from the kingdom within, whether
well,
realized or
because
not.
because people are focused on the outside versus the within.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I do see a shift in some other places. changing
Yeah.
more to, one at a time kind of thing of, that the kingdom is within, things like that. Over the last couple of years, we know that there has been a lot more people looking within, and then here's this next event. The pandemic is at endemic, so now here's this next event that is what I would call temptation for people to focus without, more again, because a lot of people went within and they started to see that kind of thing. And now all of a sudden, I see people that were going within, they're going without again, falling for that temptation. But of course, no mistake, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's important for people to grasp that it's not a one and done scenario here, that, your path to enlightenment, or however you want to phrase that, right? Your awakening, your ability to see or just seek truth, right? That's a journey of the soul. And
Yes.
you'll be ready when you're ready. If you're not ready now, that's fine. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
If this topic seems to resonate with you and you want to learn more, we have plenty of episodes that you could listen back to. And again, not for the sake of increasing our viewership or our numbers or anything like that, but just so that you can see where the dialogue has gone over the past, gosh, 2 years, really. Over 2 years now, right?
Oh, well, July is the second year, I think it is.
Yeah.
Coming up, yeah.
Coming up. But
But
anyway, right? That's we just want to share. We just love that people could expand and come into the truth of what eternity means for them.
yeah,
Each of us are doing that anyway, right? We're all every day getting
every
closer to
day.
our
Yeah,
eternity. So
yeah,
yeah,
and
just enjoy the ride is part of that theme.
yeah,
I was watching wrestling this morning, and I know when I see talent on the mat, right, and
yeah,
so much of that skill. And we've talked about wrestling before as an analogy for just how you do anything is how you do everything, which is a piece of wisdom that I I learned from a coach at Stanford who I worked with. Um, and yeah, it's so true, right? Like on the wrestling mat, you see these guys able to, fend off these movements and attempts to bring someone down, and just they ride it so smoothly. It's so effortlessly
yeah,
done. When you know that that's like only because they've been doing it for tens of thousands of hours, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah.
just the
But
littlest
the
thing, the littlest thing of like being able to, the escape being a 1 point move, but like, right? It's amazing how they can do it so easily. Like it
mhm,
looks like they're down and done, and all of a sudden,
yeah,
boop, on their feet, out of the grasp, and a point ahead, or a point
yeah.
closer to being ahead, whatever.
And then some of them a little bit later in the match, they can't do that because
Yeah,
it
fatigue, right?
takes so much energy. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing to point out, is that fatigue really does affect you when, right? Fatigue will make you think about influences outside your scope of control,
yep.
right?
Another
The
temptation.
reason, and you know this, and I know this, right? We've trained at very high levels, elite levels, really, and when you do that, you learn how to ignore all those externals and just focus within on the task at hand, because you know the payoff that it brings,
Yep.
and the
And
focus and the concentration that you're going to be able to muster up at the end of a long match, right? For me, 90-minute matches are, it's typical, or right for you. I don't even know how long they wrestle. 3 rounds
uh,
of 3 minutes.
3 minutes in the first round, then 2 2-minute rounds in the college.
Yeah.
in the international freestyle,
A
they
whole
do
different level of exertion,
two,
though.
yeah, 2 3 minute rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we use the wrestling thing because we
Analogy.
understand wrestling. We've done it, but we use it because Jacob in the Bible wrestled with God.
Yeah.
It came away with a limp, and we can
Yeah.
relate to that in both
Yeah.
ways,
Yeah.
in the real wrestling way and in the spiritual wrestling way. You know,
100%.
we wrestle with God, and God gives us a limp, and we come away with a limp. And
But
yeah,
it
it's just
doesn't, it, the limp doesn't distract us. I mean, it is something that could cause us to bring all our attention to it or, right, complain about it. But really,
yeah,
right, it just is. It's that whole piece of, the intent instead of attention, right? We're giving the intent.
yeah, and that was exactly right into what one of the wrestlers said. You know, when he got
Hmm.
finished, he said he hurt his ankle in the match the night before. His
Mm-hmm.
ankle hurt all night, and he said, "But I will die to win. I will
Mm-hmm.
die." And he went out there with a sprained ankle, and he won the freaking championship.
Yeah.
He did it. It
That's what
was
champions
amazing.
do. Champions are able to ignore all that noise, all the clatter, all the things that would normally distract you, right? Or
Yep.
cause you to feel fatigue, right?
Yes.
And come back to the intention. What's your intention? To become a champion, to be, right? Um, an overcomer. And, right, that's so valuable for everyone to learn.
Yep. Yep. Especially when you're on the,
On the mat.
like we're talking about when you're on the spiritual journey. When you're on a spiritual awakening journey, you do get fatigued, and you do
Yeah.
start to get tempted to go back to the world, and
Yeah.
or even want to leave this world or whatever.
Just check out.
But if you put your attention on the kingdom within, then everything outside, once that resonates, once it becomes you, once you become whole I, when your brain and your heart are at one with your soul, which is right use, then that's the thing of the fasting for 40 days and 40 nights. It's not necessarily that somebody fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. It's that their full attention was on spirit. They were
Mm-hmm.
seeking spirit. Their full attention was on spirit. And for one of them, it was meeting his soul, Michael. And for another one, it was Jesus overcoming the influences of ego. So it's all an analogy that we can use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then,
And going within is also, it's well known in terms of reducing stress, right? If, you know, if the
yeah,
world is what's causing you stress, right, then, you know, change your focus. What's your intention? To feel calm? If that's the intention, right? Turn
yep,
towards your breath.
yep. And like it was said when they asked Jesus, what is the sign of the end of the age? And goes through all these different things and says, but pay no, basically just don't pay attention to it. Judge not,
Mm-hmm.
don't pay attention to it. Why? Because if you pay whatever you pay attention to is where you're going to exist. That's
Mm-hmm.
where your consciousness exists. If you pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to the kingdom within through Christ, Christ is God's spirit in us that connects our souls that are the life of God. That's the only life.
Yeah.
And man has one time to die, it says in the Bible, but it doesn't mean one time to die in one physical body. It means one time to die from separation, so to speak, to oneness.
Yeah. And that's, again, just pointing out the potential for controversy as many Christians don't want to believe that reincarnation is possible,
No, and
even though it's spoken of in the Bible.
yeah, but yet Christians are waiting for themselves to be raptured, which ever since Jesus, everybody's thought that their generation was going to be raptured, and by believing in Jesus, they think that they're going to be raptured, and they think that they will be in their body, and then there's a lot that believe that everybody that has ever died that was Christian is going to be raised out of their grave. That's why they don't, certain religions don't cremate. You know, they that's where burial comes from,
Yeah,
is to keep the body safe so it can resurrect at the rapture.
yeah,
Sorry, I
interesting.
giggle
Huh?
at that because it's yeah, because
Yeah,
that's just
just
all. It's a metaphor, like that movie, that series, The Lost Symbol, was about. You know, it's a metaphor. It's very funny. It's just like, what do you think? You know, in the parable about the rich man and Lazarus, they go to what is described as the bosom of Abraham. Do you think that that's really the bosom of Abraham? No, it's all analogy. It's all metaphor. And
yeah. It's interesting how some things will be in, some things are allowed to be interpreted as analogies, and other things are, well, this is the written word of God. You can't change the meaning of that.
yeah,
Like, oh, okay, well, which ones are you going to pick and choose from? Like,
and basically, though, the leaven stuff are the metaphors and analogies. They have a reverse meaning in most cases, but the ones where it's specific, like, you know, all things created for God's pleasure, that's not a metaphor. You know, your soul can tell you which is which. You know, when you if you're going to go through a Bible or a spiritual book or a movie or
yeah,
whatever, your soul tells you. But it's like the Ephesians or whichever one it was that we read. It says that everything is predestined. You know, I've known you. I've known you since from the beginning, and everybody thinks with their ego that it's talking about me. You know, not everyone, but it's everyone. It's everything.
yeah. I wanted to take it back to that. Like, in the beginning, God created everything, and that's something that
Everything.
people have a hard time believing too. Like, they, oh no,
Yeah.
that was in the beginning, that was created, but that was created by man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like people want to be able to pick and choose what their truth
Well.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. All things created by God and for God's pleasure, all things are created, but not this. Not
how
that.
could
There's no
how could
way.
that evil be of God and for God's pleasure?
Yeah. But here God's got the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden, which is a metaphor, but here's this tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and it says we created him to be as one of us, to know the knowledge of good and evil. Well, that means that God created it, right?
Yep.
It's in the garden. And then, though that he eat from the tree of life, which is not saying in chance that he eat from the tree of life, God knew that Adam would eat from the tree of life. The tree of life is the olive tree. It also says in Revelation that the tree of life is 12 different fruits, which is a metaphor for chakras in our bodies that we've been talking about recently.
Yeah, we've been talking about crystals and chakras and how to confirm these things. You could just use a crystal to ask the question, is this true for me? Or, is this scripture the word of God, or is it an analogy, right? And get your confirmation. Go within. See what
Yeah.
comes back.
But the thing to know is that you've got to empty your cup. You know, there's a saying of, you know, God, tell me the truth. And God says, I can't tell you my truth until you stop telling me yours.
Mm,
You know? And so if you, it's like with an atheist or something, if they're wondering if there really is a God, they can find out, but they can't if they believe that there isn't, right?
yeah,
There never will be.
right.
It's what the seed of faith, you know, you have to have that mustard seed of faith.
Well, and it's also their intent, right? They're setting an intent,
Exactly. There you go.
and
Yep.
that's going to create an action. It's going to manifest a truth.
Yep. Yep. And that's the thing about, like you're saying about asking if it's true for you. Well, you got to first of all be completely empty. You've got to be empty. You've got to be waiting for
E-
these answers.
ego wise.
Yes, you've got to be empty, ego wise. Forget everything that you believe is true. And Bruce Lee used to tell new students, there was a book written about it or whatever. He would tell a student, I can't teach you unless you empty your cup. And these are people that are black belts from another, some other form. And he says, you've got to empty your cup from all of that and start from the beginning, or I can't teach you. And that's the way it works. Have to
Yeah.
empty your cup.
Retraining.
And it's a personal thing. It's not about the world. It's not, I see all these people about the world is going to become this fifth dimension thing. It's going to become this thing. So we all have to do this and we all have to do that. That we all don't have to do anything. We all are doing exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And it's realizing that brings peace and joy, and it doesn't always make it easier, but it is simple. You are gonna crash sometimes on those waves, right?
Oh yeah.
Man, just trying to get
And
out there.
we're gonna come away with a limp off the wrestling mat.
Yes. Yep. Yep. You're everybody's wrestling with God, and God wins
Yeah.
every time.
I mean, the surfing analogy is much easier to sell to people as a spiritual experience, right?
It is.
There's a
It is.
common term of a soul surfer, right? And that's the OG who is probably riding, a longboard, barefoot, no leash, maybe no wetsuit, and just style for days, experienced, doesn't miss when he paddles for a wave. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, people, I've been, just comments like, right, when I'm paddling through the lineup. And it's funny now because I've been going to spots that are predominantly just surfers and I'm bodyboarding. And so, and I'm paddling past them, going out to the deepest spot where the biggest waves are going to break. And, just smiling and sharing the stoke. And,
Yeah.
somebody will say something about how amazing it is. I'm like, yeah, here we are, man. We're just immersed in God's perfect love and power. And they smile. It's like nobody rejects that when you're on a board in the ocean. Everybody understands it because it's true.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have a bad day out there. If you're having a bad day out there, right? You're not looking within.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you learn the path to paddle out, to where you don't get creamed on your way.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people in surfing where are paddling out and a wave, coming over them takes them 20 feet back.
Oh yeah,
Their bird flops up out of the
yeah.
water.
There is a path of least resistance. You just gotta know. You gotta have the local knowledge. You gotta have done your time studying the break.
Yep. Another great analogy, another great analogy. It's you don't just immerse in, go paddle out and get on a great wave. You got to take the time to ponder, to study.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'll use that to say, study God. You can't know God by studying a book, but you can know the book by studying God.
and the only way to do that is to be in a relationship, right? To
Yep.
acknowledge the relationship is within you. It's
Yep.
already present. It's not something you have to do. You know, right?
Yep.
There's
Yep.
not no
And
up down, cross yourself certain way. None of that stuff is the that's all the leaven.
yep. And I've used like even the term "keep your eye on the prize" as a metaphor kind of thing, but really there is no prize, because we're not like sent out to play a game and then the losers go to hell and the winners go to heaven. it's we we've already got the prize when it all began, and that was back to what you said earlier about in the beginning God created and all things were created, and God is Alpha and Omega. So to God everything is done. It's finished to God. That's a really hard concept for a human to even
Yeah.
fathom. Even
Especially
me.
the lifespan of, eons, and like our life is already done to God. That's
Yes.
it's totally antithetical because we haven't lived tomorrow yet, right? But we don't know if we're
Right.
going to wake up tomorrow. So how do you know it's
Yeah.
not done?
Yeah. Yeah. And then to think more of God, that okay, so God's the Alpha and the Omega, so the beginning and the end, but yet God is continuously expanding, continuously. A soul evolves through physical life, and then it becomes like Jesus became, which is the greater that he said we would do it if we believe on him, like enveloping light, and then that expands, and
Right.
that expands, and that expands, because you got to beat olives in order to have the lamp burn forever. And so it's just continuous. And how can we even fathom that? Well, we can. All you got to do is go within the kingdom of yourself. You have to climb the mountain, though. You have to climb the mountain. You got to move your mountain from unconsciousness or from human consciousness to God consciousness. That's what it's talking about when it says move a mountain. Or pull up a deep rooted tree and plant it in the sea. The sea is God's pure love.
Right.
So it's then when you get planted there, and if you have a seed of faith of that God has created all things, and that the kingdom exists within all of us, and that we are all worthy. I mean, of course, somebody with a younger soul isn't going to be able to do that. Kojo, how you doing? I haven't seen Kojo for a while.
Oh, nice. Hello, my friend. Welcome. Encourage you to call in if you feel so led. Love to hear any updates on how your walk's been since
Yeah.
we first spoke and did the meditation with you.
He says I'm blessed, so that tells
And
that
favored.
says it all. Yeah, and I just wanted to say real quick, since you're here, thank you so much for sharing that with us at that time, and now
Oh,
for
I know.
coming in today.
What a privilege
So
it was to do that meditation together.
yes, wonderful part of the world. And so these days we're basically trying to come in a little earlier in the day. We have a little more time during the week. We're not doing it every week or anything like that. We're coming in to keep the fellowship going, so to speak.
Yes. And Kojo is one of those who've blessed this fellowship by participating as a call in guest.
Yes. So we're here talking about attention and intent, and for the intention to be within, on the kingdom within, and then realizing that there's really nothing important that exists without our bodies, because these bodies are God's house. These bodies are where God exists to experience the soul, to gain experience for the soul in all physical aspects, to then be light, to be love, to be an existence of the actual experience of being God, being that love. And Christ is the truth, the way, and the life that brings understanding. And we are joint heirs with Jesus and all those that have been long before us. Kind of came in today. My intention was to sort of like take the focus off of what's going on in the world, because I see it in most aspects. Like, I check on YouTube, I'm watching spiritual people, channelers, religions, and stuff like that, and most of the attention is on what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so my intention or intent for this podcast today was just to look within, look within to what's within, the kingdom within. That's where all joy, peace, and understanding exists. It's all right
Amen.
there. And then to tell you that you can go in and experience the oneness right here, right now, heaven in your body, which would be heaven on earth. You can experience that right now. You can go in now. Not just anybody can hear me say that and go in and do that. You've got to have the vessel of oil. You've got to have the experience. And to say there's experience and inexperience isn't to pick on anybody or say there's worse or better or bad or good or right or wrong. There isn't. Everybody is on their perfect path, their perfect journey. And God is consistent or consistently, persistently expanding and growing. There are new souls being born all the time, a new soul coming into existence to experience and to grow. And there are old souls that are going out of the physical existence and on into the eternal existence of oneness of God that exists within ourselves, that exists at the top of our bodies, at the top of the mountain, the top of our head, which we connect with through looking up within, looking up within. And check your heart. The word is sown in our heart. Check your heart. Go feel your heart. Feel your heart. Say, show me heart. Open up that heart. Climb the mountain. Go up to the burning bush within you. And in the Bible, it says, those who overcome are given a white stone. And in that stone is a new name. And that name will be only known to the one that is receiving it. The white stone has to do with the top of our head, I believe, and within it is that new name. The new name is actually not new because our eternal soul exists in eternity, but we have a name for that eternal soul. And Moses showed us a representation of that with the name of Jehovah. And then I think it was Elijah or somebody like that who did the 40 days and 40 nights, and Michael came. And then Joseph and Mary heard from Gabriel, and they all were called angels of the Lord. So they're all the same. But they're our soul. Our soul exists in eternity, and it is an archangel. The ark is our heart.
Yeah. I think as we're coming up on spring, a lot of people are probably thinking in, the tradition of Easter and
Oh, yeah.
rebirth,
Yeah.
and thinking that maybe that's a one and done thing. Oh, I only get to experience that rebirth when I, whatever, claim Christ the first time, or the first time I'm baptized, or, you know,
Yeah.
any number
Yeah.
of scenarios, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But
really, you can have that regenerative feeling of being born again every time you meditate. You can,
yeah.
you know, experience that.
And that's what Easter is. Easter isn't about an old life. It's about a new beginning. It's about, you know, breaking that eggshell open. That's why the egg is actually representative in Easter. It's to break the eggshell open to consciousness. And Easter was not about a death. Easter was about a resurrection and a rapture. Jesus raptured. Jesus resurrected, ascended. Oh, Giraffe Heart says there's a sequel coming to The Passion of Christ, really, by Mel Gibson.
Wow.
Oh, that's interesting.
Newsflash.
Yeah.
She's been watching
Wow.
Entertainment Tonight. I'm just kidding. Oh, yeah, a lot of stuff out there, right? A lot of Christian media now, Christian movies, Christian directors. There's a lot of openness towards it.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. There's um, a lot of inspiration coming out of creative people. Well, creative people, artistic. A lot of it, and a lot of it's hidden, underneath the surface. So just like in the Bible, you can read the Bible and get a bunch of war and love stories and things like that, or you can get a spiritual meaning. A lot of these movies coming out have the same kind of thing. I really like the new Matrix movie, the ending of it or whatever. It's kind of the metaphor of uh, yin and yang soul coming together physically. It's really
Mm,
cool. Have you seen that yet?
I don't think so.
It's Neo and Trinity become one. Basically, she starts to fly.
Oh wow!
She's the one that actually saves him at the end. Kind of brings him
Spoiler
back.
alert! Spoiler alert! Just kidding.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's really awesome to think of it from that perspective. And then they're both flying.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then that movie that we've recommended, quirky, weird movie that you got to really just be ready for. Once you get the idea what it is, it's called Welcome to Happiness.
All right.
It's so beautiful. Just you listen to the words of the songs that are going in the background. You know, put on subtitles because it's really cool. It's really cool. Everything happens for a reason. You know,
Yeah,
and
and it's
people are writing
lost.
these things.
It's
And they're
lost
putting.
upon us at times, but
Yeah,
often the meaning isn't revealed until right
yeah,
we've tuned in and we've asked. We've gone within. And we've asked. What was the
yep,
meaning of this?
exactly. Yes,
What was the
yes, and
point
that's
of
the
that?
thing.
That wasn't
Yeah,
very fun. What was the point of that?
yeah, yeah. And that's a thing. That's a reminder um, that don't believe anything we say. If anything rings true, go and check out for yourself within yourself. Ask yourself. Ask within yourself. Go inside your temple. Your temple is the house of God. It is the house of your soul. Your soul is much more than just what it is to you now, but you can get into that soul and you can find any answer that you want. I guess I'll just say it real quick. When you realize that the kingdom is within yourself, people go to channelers or they go to card readers or they go to people to read their future and stuff like that. When the answers are right inside yourself, you know, if you aren't able to get the answer in yourself, you're really not going to be able to get it from someone else outside of yourself. You're going to get exactly what you would tell yourself.
And those people will all happily tell you that they're going to give you those answers. They'll all happily charge you to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
try to get you those answers. But yeah,
Yeah. If you can't get
they
it
have
within yourself,
they have a different intent. Their
exactly.
actions are based on a different intent than what you're probably really looking for.
And I'm not going to say, that that's a bad thing to do that. There's no mistake because I've seen people do it and then, come to their own awakening and stuff. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not bad. It's perfect. But it's just that what it all will come to eventually in somewhere in eternity is that you'll realize that God is you, that the kingdom is within, that you are spirit, and then you will overcome death and you will expand into a vibration of God and you will be with your brain and your heart.
Yes.
People that people, when people think that they're going to die and then go to heaven, that can't happen because when you die, you don't have a brain and you don't have a heart. So you don't have those, you
Physical
don't have, yeah, you don't have all of that
entrapments.
experience, in experiential form. You'll have an imagination and stuff like that because you are mind and stuff, but the pictures all go away, the emotions all go away. There's no more ego, there's no more anything. That's why people that say near death experiences, they feel nothing but love. They feel this pure love. But there are people that, will leave their body and they'll have an imagination of where they were, and they'll still be hateful or vengeful or something like that for a time until they figure it out.
You just reminded me of episode I saw yesterday. Um, Morgan Freeman does a show on National Geographic Television
Yeah, I did. I
about
watched one of
about
those.
about God. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I might have
have you seen it? You might have seen
started
this.
to watch it.
Yeah, you should watch it because he did talk about the phenomena you just spoke about, like when people are in comas or their heart stopped and their lungs have stopped and the brain's going through the process of death. That right, there's still neural activities and there's still
Yeah,
consciousness and there's still right. It isn't over just because the heart stopped breathing and the lungs have stopped functioning.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
that's kind of what they're using as a way to validate the idea of consciousness continuing, human consciousness
Oh,
continuing beyond
yeah. Because of the
function
energy
of
and
a function of the body. Yeah, that the
the
energy is still
mind,
in there. Yeah,
and
it's
that
pretty
was.
cool. It was really cool that they weren't hiding from it. Were willing to say, yeah,
Well, yeah. No,
it's a slower process than people want to. Body doesn't just die instantly, right? There's a period of time it takes, and depending on how well you took care of yourself, right, it could
yeah.
your cells might keep going for a bit longer than others.
And it goes with that series, The Midnight Mass, where that girl was dying at the end, and she says, "My brain, it's got neurons firing,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but
exactly.
but yet I exist everywhere." And
That's such a good
that
scene.
was, yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is that humanity is searching. It searches the universe, it searches for truth, the meaning, and it's coming. The ask and receive, seek and find.
Yeah,
And then that's again the point of the attention and intent. If your attention is on, why do we exist? What is the meaning of life? What is God? If that's your attention and then your intent is to understand that, you will understand that. You will come to understand that. And then the one truth that everyone will come to in unison, or that will, be the same, is that the kingdom is within. It will always be the same. And that there is nothing but eternal life. We just come here to separate for a while until we unseparate by experience.
in the meantime, God gets to have all of these experiences for
All
his
of them,
pleasure.
everyone, riding every ride in the amusement park,
Yep.
being every
Every
character.
wrestling match, every wave,
Exactly. Yeah.
every yeah, everything.
Everything.
What a cool
Anybody
stuff.
on the with the Podbean app that's on the board, you'll get pop-ups asking for gifts, to give gifts or to support us in some way or whatever. We don't accept that. That's not from us. That's Podbean. It just comes with this program. And if you want to follow us, that's fine. If you want contact with us, we have an email that I set up, ChristTruthReveal@gmail.com. That's one for just private conversation or contact. And we do recommend, if anybody's curious as what we're about here or whatever, we have past podcasts on Podbean. They're also on YouTube with subtitles. And we don't share that for like, shares, and subscribes. We don't care about that at all. It's just so you know where we're coming from more, if you like, if you want to hear more, if you want to figure out how you can do this for yourself. We give ways of how to do that. And for anybody that might need help, we can help with. And we're here to help, and we help freely. God gave these things to us, and so we pay it forward. And we do it because it's natural to share. You know, you seek, you receive, you share. You seek, you receive, you share. It's a big
Amen.
circle that just
Amen.
never ends.
And the reward, I mean, gosh, we get to, learn that there's a beachhead in Ghana of people
Yeah,
learning about, some of these concepts because, right,
yeah,
other people who were seeking are now becoming sharers.
yes,
Thank you for
yes,
that,
and
Kojo.
yeah, and like Kojo said, I'm blessed, and hopefully that means that you're experiencing the unconditional love and joy of life.
That you can rejoice in the olive oil rendering that's probably still happening, if not happening
Yeah,
at even more accelerated pace.
yeah,
But to
yeah. No
know,
kidding.
but to know, right? Just to be still and know that God has already made this perfect for you. There's no
Yeah,
mistake in it.
and then with just from like my experience, when God gave me the my eternal soul name, that just gave me much more intent, much more attention and intent on figuring out what that really means. And then it took me, decades to really get it, to where now I just sit in it and I realize that that's me, that is this existence. But when you get to that point where you ask for that name, when you find out yourself, then you realize your eternity, there's endless of what you can understand and grow to.
Yeah. And as we talked about earlier about the diminishing of the attention on the world, right? The world comes at us through our spirit animal. And our
Yes.
spirit animal is the ego part that still may be reactive, but when you understand your spirit animal and its origin and its nature, and that's you, right? You can
Yes.
invoke a different type of intent,
Yep. Yep.
and that's a beautiful thing. It's a really soothing approach to, oh, that's they're just responding to my white tiger.
Yeah.
I don't have to be threatened because I can't really be threatened
Yep.
by it. I don't have to think that they're, trying to cage me or capture me or whatever, right? I can just be about love and light and, you know, changing that
Yeah.
perceptions.
Consciously, yes. When you're conscious. Yep. Unconsciously, though, yeah, there's been times of attack and the lion's on top and going, wow, how'd I get here?
Well, and that's a different level of threat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not every threat requires us to respond like a pouncing lion.
Yep. Or a kicking giraffe.
Yeah. Or a
Which
rushing rhino.
there are a couple
You
of
don't want to
giraffes
get
on the
bum
boat.
rushed by a rhino, do you?
Oh man. Oh boy. Yeah. I was watching some animal things where an elephant went after a rhino. The rhino didn't win. And some lions were going after a giraffe, and some lions got hurt,
Yeah. Yeah.
kicked in the head. So anyway, yeah, we have natural, our nature, our carnal nature is a spirit animal that is a part of our soul. It's a part of our soul's evolution and nature.
Incarnation. Yeah.
Yeah, comes through. and then brings it into human form, and then we have that experience, and then it manifests into a higher expressions.
Thankfully.
And something I haven't talked about it. That explains lookalikes on this planet. You know why people look like why you see somebody that looks like somebody, that somewhere else, and there's
Mm-hmm.
lookalikes on the other side of the world. It's because of that spirit animal. Because anybody that is an African lion like me, they're going to look like me. They're going to look similar to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody that's a tiger is going to look similar to you.
You're
My
gonna have
mom
some
and
visible stripes.
yeah, my mom and my brother look alike because they're the same. They're same animal, same spirit animal. It's really cool. That explains lookalikes. But
Mm.
of course, people look like their DNA also, but you look like that animal within you. And all you
Yeah.
have to do is look in the mirror.
Yeah. And when you know somebody else's soul animal, you can be less likely to provoke or
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yes.
You understand what's an appropriate approach.
Yep. 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 A monkey's gonna do what a monkey does, and all different things. And I've seen many different things, many different that are for sure those. That's what those people are. I've seen it's any kind of mammal. Before that, it was a bird, but I've seen now a manatee. I've seen yak. I've seen um, walrus. I've seen all kinds of things now, and I know that's where people get off and go, "What the heck?"
Mm. Very
But
cool. Yeah.
it's the Trinity. It's the Trinity. The Trinity. The heart.
The
The
mind.
spirit animal actually exists in the heart, but it is what is the controller of ego and emotion and all those kind of things in unison with the soul, with the soul's expression of what it desires from this life. Yeah,
Yeah. Not
and
every soul's ready to have their lamp lit.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They might just be focused on whatever it is that's grabbing attention.
yeah. And like Giraffe Heart says, no, and she's a giraffe. It helps her to kick less or kick less hard. Yep. And the lion and the tiger pause before pouncing. Yep. Unless
If the
provoked in a
pouncing,
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
if the pouncing is
Sometimes you
required at
got to
all.
pounce. Yeah. Sometimes you got to pounce. So sometimes it's necessary. Well, so anyway, that was
Yeah, that was fun.
pretty fun. Kind of better to do earlier in the day. We're not tired and stuff like that. Yeah. Today
Yeah.
we're having rain, but the sun shines within all the time. Always sun shining. Anything else you wanted to add?
Um. Yeah, just more perfect provision. Looks like gonna be back to it next week, full time, every day
Oh yeah, really?
with
Okay.
students. So yeah, just want to
Okay.
give a shout out to those who may be experiencing financial hardship or whatever that is, just lack, a seeming lack. Just know that perfect provision is such a real thing. You can live in the abundance of knowing that you know what you know.
Yeah.
And by doing so, it just it's going to be hard for people around you who haven't developed that internal relationship with their creator.
Yeah.
Um, but the perfect provision is a real thing. Like
It is.
I never had any doubt. This is going back almost. It'll be a full year in May where I've had a lot of uncertainty, but at at no point in that past year or the past 10 months, say, right, have I, you know, gone wanting for anything, missed a payment on anything, just perfect provision. And, when you feel like maybe people who should be supporting you but are not, um, just remember that they're on their own journey, right? And continue to extend love, grace, and understanding, and they'll come around too. Because I've experienced that as well, where I just, people went dark, and instead of having resentment or ill will, just continue to press on in faith that if it's meant to happen, it will, and it does, because
Yeah.
God already knew that was what is, for us, the perfect provision.
Yep. Yep.
Anyway,
And
it sounds like I'm speaking maybe a little bit in circles, or
no, not really. Just
just
but
to,
circles are
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Well, and
And
it really is about just trusting the process, that knowing that God is infinitely good all the time, whether we think so or not. It's happening. That provision is being provided because this is, I needed that, to reprioritize what's important,
yep.
and get back in line so that my throat chakra would be cleared and I would speak truth into power. You know, I
Yep.
wasn't willing to do that. I was, for whatever reason, holding myself back,
Yep.
and that's
And
okay.
it yeah.
Because the tiger didn't strike. That's okay.
Yep.
I really couldn't at that time. It would have gone much differently and probably reduced the. I can't say for sure, but right. In many cases, it's likely that when you're reactive and cause drama, that it has a deleterious effect long term. People
Yeah.
aren't going to trust you. People are going to be like, "Oh, wait, loose cannon," or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
I'm
Don't
just
you
saying,
don't
I just again want to bring the good news of perfect provision from a perfect God who, loves me no matter what.
Yep. And then there's the thing of don't cast your pearls about the swine. Another teacher taught me long ago:
Sure.
allow others to grow according to their understanding, because they're
Hmm.
on their own journey and their own path,
Yep. Yep.
and that God provides everything, everything, no matter what it is. Everything is provided. I mean, it says it in the Bible. It tells us, and that is the truth. It's
Hmm.
a metaphor of a reality of, the lily in the field. Not even Solomon in all of his splendor was as
Yep.
beautiful. And if sparrow doesn't fall without God knowing it, and God provides everything for that.
Yep. Yep.
And when you get that key, that's where you start joy. That's where you
Yeah.
start joy. And then you live a
Absolutely.
faithful life every day, even if it's uncertain, right?
Yeah. And I'll just when you use one last surfing analogy to help close this out, but it's been different for me, right? Ever since probably we started doing the podcast, where I kind of came out of the fear of XL conditions, and now when I'm out there just paddling straight out to the deepest part where the biggest waves come, and people are looking at me like, "What's going on? Are you sure?" You can tell when people are just like, "Oh, what's going on here?"
uh,
Right?
yeah.
But the perfect provision comes, and I feel like that's part of me stepping into the blessings of that joy that God knows I get from you know that riding that cresting energy of His perfect love, and as it just washes over us. There's no feeling that can describe it, and that's why the surfing analogy is so eloquent, I think, because it,
It
it
is.
really is. It really is that. It's really when you know how do you say it, when God tells you to sit, you don't ask for a chair, right?
Oh,
When
yeah.
with surfing, you get to a spot, you sit, and then it comes, and you don't have to do it is such a gift
Yep. And
to
it's
know
also
that
the
that perfect provision is going to come.
thing of, kind of like getting taken to be fulfilled with what you love. you know
Yes.
it's more perfect provision of, getting to have joy, getting to, experience, well, the abundance,
Yep. True
enjoy.
abundance. True
Yeah.
abundance.
It's in how
Yeah.
your energy, your feeling, your joy.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's what allows me to get through harder weeks at work or,
Yeah.
home or whatever, right? I mean, it's a perfect reset. And, you guys are all tasked with finding out, by going within what it is for you. I
Yeah.
just wanted to bring that up because here I am again at another end of another fallow cycle where, I was being forced to go within. I was being given extra time to go within and to figure
Yep.
things out and to ponder. And, right,
Yep.
we're
Yep.
going forth
Exactly.
again.
Yep. Yep.
So a lot of uncertainty. We started about like, what is your attention on? If your attention's on, a fourth wave of COVID or whatever, right? Then,
Yeah.
maybe recalibrate and see, is that what you want to focus on?
Yeah. And at least stop fearing these things.
Yes.
To realize that, when God knew us in the beginning, our lives are actually predestined if you believe in the Bible. And so when your time comes, it's gonna come, and there's no way to stop it, and there's no way to force it. It's just if your time is gonna come.
Yeah.
Or you can go on in eternity from now on.
You going to go kicking and screaming? Or are you going to go
Yeah.
gracefully?
Yeah, you're going along.
Yeah.
You're definitely going along. Are you kicking and screaming, or are you going gracefully? And of course, the
Yeah.
graceful doesn't come until you get that communion and you fall into the grace when you realize that God is you. God is us. Perfect.
Experience of God, for God, by God, and for God's pleasure. So, with
Yes.
that, I guess our time has come.
Yep. Good night or good evening.
Aloha
That
and
comes to.
mahalo and love you, Giraffe Heart. Thanks
Yeah.
again, listeners. Catch us on the
And
YouTube and leave a comment if you like.